Hi there, and welcome back to Leon Reads, the channel where we share powerful insights and personal growth lessons through great books. What if you could step into a machine, press a lever, and suddenly find yourself in another century? For more than 100 years, humanity has been obsessed with this idea. In today's video, we're diving into James Gleick's Time Travel, a fascinating exploration of how science, literature, and philosophy have shaped one of the most mind-bending concepts of all time. If you enjoy what you hear and want to dive deeper, we've included a link to the book in the description below. Now, let's get started. Time Travel 2016 presents a detailed account of the history of an endlessly fascinating concept. The book explains how the idea of time travel first emerged in the public imagination, what challenges this theory brings forth, and even how one might unknowingly become a time traveler. James Gleick has written several acclaimed works on the history of science and scientific thought. Among his works, he has explored chaos theory as well as the lives of some of the most brilliant minds in history. Time has always captivated humanity. We are drawn to the past through history, classical art, and historical novels. The future is equally compelling, as we constantly question the possibilities of exploration and even settlement on distant planets. It comes as no surprise, then, that the desire to travel through time has become a recurring theme in our collective imagination. But is time travel truly possible? Where did this concept originate? In this concise exploration, we will uncover the fascinating journey of time travel, from its earliest inspirations to the latest scientific developments. Let us embark on this journey into the history of time travel to better understand the ideas, scientific discoveries, and cultural milestones that have shaped this concept throughout the years. Today, the idea of time travel appears everywhere: film, television, and literature. Our fascination with it is no accident. Society has long been obsessed with the notion of traversing time. Yet only 150 years ago, the idea was virtually unknown. The door was opened in 1895, with the publication of H.G. Wells's groundbreaking novel, The Time Machine. In this novel, Wells introduces us to a man known simply as the Time Traveler. This character invents a machine that allows him to move across history and into the future. The story was remarkable for its depiction of time as a flowing stream, suggesting that with the right instrument, one could actually conquer time itself. Before Wells's novel, time was generally perceived as strictly one-directional. One could only move forward at a fixed pace. Thus, Wells's science fiction tale helped to revolutionize humanity's view of time and the possibility of traveling through it. So what made this novel so successful? Part of the answer lies in its timing. Emerging at the end of the 19th century, the story appeared during an era of dramatic social and technological change. As humanity stepped into the 20th century, people became increasingly fascinated with the future. Rapid progress in science and technology created lifestyles unlike those of previous generations. For the first time, people saw the past, present, and future as distinct and separate realms. This historic shift made the notion of time travel even more compelling. It is important to note that before this period, the future was often imagined merely as an extension of the present. Stories about the future were typically framed through prophecy, such as in Oedipus Rex or Macbeth. These tales focused on the personal journey of an individual character within a foretold destiny, but they did not envision sweeping consequences for society at large. The 20th century, along with Wells's The Time Machine, dramatically transformed humanity's perception of the future. If such a meeting were possible, could we then alter the course of past events in ways that might change our present lives? To address such paradoxes, certain principles of time travel were proposed. Writers and thinkers alike established rules and limitations within their works to navigate these dilemmas. If we were to travel to the future and meet our future selves, would that mean our lives are destined to unfold in such a way as to guarantee that meeting? In other words, is our fate predetermined? Time travel further raises ethical questions about correcting mistakes of the past. In the previous chapter, we examined how literature expanded the idea of time travel. But beyond fiction, great scientific minds such as Albert Einstein profoundly reshaped humanity's understanding of time itself. Einstein's theory of general relativity introduced a revolutionary perspective within physics, According to this theory, the speed of light is constant and does not depend on the motion of the observer. This led to a stunning conclusion. Time is not absolute, but relative. In other words, the faster you move, the slower time passes for you. Thus, an astronaut traveling in a spaceship near the speed of light would experience time more slowly than someone standing still on Earth. Following Einstein's contributions, scientists continued to expand the discussion, introducing new concepts such as the multiverse. This idea suggests that countless parallel universes exist, each branching out from different choices we make. For instance, in one universe you might have studied diligently for an exam, while in another, you chose not to. These scientific developments sparked not only theoretical exploration but also philosophical debate about time. One such debate concerns human memory. Because memory is imperfect, each act of recollection subtly alters the event itself. In that sense, are we not already changing our past and shaping our future through memory? For example, if you forget that you went to a party instead of studying, you may reinterpret your life story differently, and in doing so, you change the way you see yourself in the future. Isn't this idea remarkably similar to the concept of a multiverse? Still, for most people, accepting that time is relative remains difficult. In everyday life, outside the realm of science fiction, we continue to perceive time as flowing steadily in one direction. The gap between lived experience and theoretical physics makes it challenging to embrace time as a variable dimension rather than an unchanging constant. Suppose you journeyed into the past and accidentally caused the death of your grandfather, would you then cease to exist? And if you never existed, how could you have harmed your grandfather in the first place? This is one of the most famous paradoxes in time travel. Yet it is only one among countless others. Most paradoxes arise from traveling backward in time. The butterfly effect illustrates how even the smallest of actions can produce enormous consequences in the future. For example, a butterfly flapping its wings on one side of the Earth could generate a gentle breeze that eventually evolves into a massive storm thousands of miles away. In the context of time travel, this principle becomes especially crucial. Any time traveler would inevitably face scenarios in which the tiniest action could radically reshape the future. If you were to prevent Hitler's birth, for instance, what would today's world look like? There might be no Second World War, no United Nations, no Cold War, and we cannot predict what else might have changed. Any alteration by a time traveler carries the potential to reshape history in unforeseen ways. Such questions have baffled many of the greatest mathematicians and physicists. A striking example comes from Austrian logician Kurt Gödel, who argued that time travel was mathematically possible. He proposed the existence of universes containing closed time-like curves, loops in spacetime that continually circled back into the past. According to his theory, by writing such a loop, one could theoretically travel through time. This also raises new questions about causality. In theoretical physics, no strict law prevents cause and effect from being reversed. In principle, someone in the future could alter the past. Yet despite such theories, some of the most renowned scholars, including Albert Einstein and Stephen Hawking, remained skeptical. Hawking famously remarked that if time travel were truly possible, we would already be overrun by hordes of tourists from the future. In reality, of course, we have encountered none. So, after tracing its history and ideas, what does time travel mean for us today? Through the previous chapters, we have explored the reflections and efforts of distinguished thinkers to explain the idea of time travel. Yet upon closer reflection, one realizes that humanity has long engaged in its own form of time travel. We time travel through literature and memory. Every time we read a novel, we immerse ourselves in the past, entering the thoughts and emotions of people at a particular moment in time. Likewise, when authors write, they send messages forward to readers of the future, whether near or distant. Memory, too, allows us to journey backward, recording events from the past while also reshaping them according to our own minds. With the advent of the internet, our notion of time and of time travel has been transformed even further. Online, we can pause, rewind, revisit the past, or plan for the future. On social media, we can edit our personal past by removing tags, deleting photos, or revising posts. The sheer speed of online communication makes this process even easier. In a sense, we can even exist forever in digital form, preserved in our social media accounts. Today, people desire not only to explore the future, but also to return to the past. Modern culture is steeped in nostalgia, while films and television shows such as Back to the Future and Westworld highlight the allure of revisiting cherished memories, not merely the mystery of what lies ahead. Time travel is a captivating concept that has fascinated humanity for more than a century. Today, while it has become a familiar theme, it still faces profound challenges, ranging from the constraints of fundamental physics to theoretical limitations and paradoxes. Reading James Gleick's Time Travel was an unexpectedly profound experience. On the surface, it is a history of an idea-cultural exploration of how humanity came to imagine moving across time. Yet beneath that, the book feels like a meditation on how we, as humans, perceive reality itself. What struck me most is how Gleick weaves together literature, philosophy, and physics into a single narrative. He reminds us that time travel did not begin in the laboratory but in the imagination, through stories that pushed us to see time as flexible rather than fixed. The transition from prophecy in Oedipus Rex to H.G. Wells' The Time Machine marks not just a literary innovation but a shift in how humanity envisions its own future. Equally fascinating was the scientific perspective. Einstein's relativity, Gödel's time loops, and Hawking's skepticism show that time is not simply a background stage but an active dimension of reality, one that bends and stretches, raising questions that still puzzle the greatest minds. I found myself marveling at how the smallest scientific insight could ripple out and redefine entire cultural narratives. But what lingers with me most is Gleick's reminder that we already time travel in our everyday lives, through memory, literature, and even the internet. We constantly move backward and forward, reshaping the past and anticipating the future. It made me realize that time travel is not just a fantasy of science fiction. It is also a metaphor for how we live, how we remember, and how we dream. Closing the book, I felt a mixture of awe and humility. Awe at the vastness of time, and humility in recognizing how little we truly understand it. Gleick doesn't give us definitive answers. Perhaps no one can, but he offers us something just as valuable: the chance to see time, and ourselves within it, from a richer and more imaginative perspective. James Gleick doesn't just write about time travel, he makes us feel it. If you're fascinated by history, science, or simply the mysteries of existence, this book is a must. And if you want to support the author and dive deeper, you can find the link to grab your copy below. Until then, remember, the adventure of time is happening right now.